All right, everybody, welcome back to the What's Poppin' podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ho. With me today is Connor Durkin, Dan Phillips, and Joey Byrom. Today, we're going to talk about arguably the greatest franchise in movie history, George Lucas's classic franchise, Star Wars.
Arguably?
I mean, you could talk the Jaws franchise. It went downhill after one. Harry Potter. I don't know. The MCU.
Okay. I can see it.
But this is arguably, like, it's a classic. You can't deny that. It's a classic. And recently, they came out with the last installment of what they're calling the Skywalker Saga. J.J. Abrams' The Rise of Skywalker. We're here to dissect that. Then after that, we'll go in and each of us will rank our all 9 films and see which one's our favorite, which one's our least favorite. I just want to gauge the room. Initial thoughts. Out of 10, Rise of Skywalker.
Out of 10. I mean, there were things I liked and didn't like, so I'm probably going to give it about a 6 out of 10, I think. I mean, some of the stuff I feel like it was rushed, like the whole Palpatine thing with him coming back. Like, they didn't really explain how. It was very briefly stated that he was using some sort of cloning technology, but we didn't really go into depth about that, so I would have liked to focus on that a little more.
Regular movie scale, 9.5 out of 10. Star Wars movie scale, I'd have to say 7 or 8. There was a lot that I really liked. Me being a really huge fan of Star Wars, knowing a lot of the backstory and the lore and just everything and I'm basically able to explain everything that happened in that movie. I understood pretty much everything.
For me, I'd probably give it about a 5 out of 10. I thought they had too much stuff and they didn't explain it well enough. They needed to do more explaining, like why did at the end Rey go to Tatooine?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Also, forgot to mention, but there are spoilers ahead. We've already spoiled a little bit of it.
You probably should have.
That's okay. We'll put a spoiler warning in the description. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch the movie. It's still in theaters, and come back for our discussion. I'd have to go with Joey on this one. Give it a 5 out of 10. I was a little underwhelmed. As we'll talk about in our rankings, I feel like the new trilogy. My favorite was The Force Awakens, then Last Jedi, then Rise of Skywalker for me. I just felt like because they had J.J. Abrams do 7 and 9, it didn't feel like a whole trilogy. Because Rian Johnson's movie, Last Jedi, is kind of there in the middle. It's like you don't really need it. It didn't tell a whole story in 3 movies. And I just didn't think it was that satisfying of a conclusion. Let's go to discussing the big reveal. I think Connor touched on it. Palpatine's back. What did we think of that choice?
I was a little surprised. You can tell that he was kind of a late ad because, you know, with Rian Johnson, going from J.J. Abrams to Rian Johnson and back to J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson kind of killed off Snoke, which is what J.J. Abrams set up. So I feel like it was kind of a rush to add him back in. But, I mean, Palpatine's Palpatine. You gotta love him. It's just all right.
I thought that it was a great idea to have Palpatine, just somebody that not a lot of people actually would have expected, especially being Rey's grandfather. Like, I thought that was huge, and that the Palpatine was alive and being a clone. And as anybody who's read like a bunch of the books, or anybody who knows a lot of it, it's hard to like clone a Force sensitive being. And there's like explanations. There's like certain Force abilities. It's called Force Essence that you're able to project your consciousness from after one body dies. You're able to put it into another. And I thought that having that, and that's been actually I'm not sure if Force Essence has been canonized, but it is canonized that Palpatine was a clone. So we kind of just put those two together, and if you keep them together, it makes sense.
I didn't really like the idea of bringing Palpatine back because I felt like you could have created maybe a new character or something. Because Palpatine in the 6th movie, he's pretty much dead.
But I mean, what about that blue stuff? Like, that was never really explained.
Hey,
so when he gets thrown down the shaft, and then it like and then it vaporizes him basically, and the blue that comes up the shaft.
Is that his essence?
That's his Force essence.
I never really thought of that.
Yeah.
I always assumed that was just like lightning from an explosion when he got thrown down the shaft.
You can take it either way.
Yeah.
At the time, that's an explosion, but now you're like, that's just Force essence. They kind of.
Yeah.
retconned.
I also feel like if you can, why can't you just bring back any Star Wars character? Couldn't Han Solo or someone?
I
Just
mean-
for
back?
Boba Fett. Let me just throw that out there.
I mean, they have with Force Ghosts.
Yeah.
And I mean, speaking of Force Ghosts, the old Luke is back.
Yeah.
I mean, in Last Jedi, like that, there was a Luke we had never seen before. One completely filled with fear. One that was never sure of his ability to do anything anymore. Like, and I personally didn't like that Luke. I thought that
Neither,
Luke.
yeah,
I thought
agree.
Luke was like the one character that, like, sturdy, reliable. You can count on him to come when you need him.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they made him like
That's
that.
my
Not like-
problem with the
yeah.
new trilogy, because the original trilogy's arc is very much about Luke Skywalker and his growth. He starts out as a whiny brat. He's got to go pick up some power converters, you know? But then by the end, he's the Jedi who conquers, like, the baddest Sith in the galaxy. Or he didn't actually kill him, as we find out he comes back. But then that whole arc of him becoming, like, a man, a powerful
Yeah.
Jedi, it's kind of undermined by the fact that he has a middle life crisis.
But I feel like one thing that, like, draws people to Star Wars so much is that, like, that connection that you can get with Luke of growing up through something and trying to be a part of something, being something like the rebellion or something like that. You can really relate to that, and I feel like that's what drew so many people to love Star Wars.
Now, do we think... I agree with you that Luke is a very relatable protagonist, which is why I think he's captivated millions of people all over the world. Do you feel that same connection with Rey, who's very much the protagonist of the new trilogy? Do you think that Rey's like, oh, relatable? She is a girl, so I think that helps, like, with the little girls, a role model you can look up to, and I respect that. But did you feel that same connection that you did with Luke?
I personally did not, just because. So, when I grew up, I started watching Luke. You know, so I've just been with Luke, you know, my whole life. So I think it's different. But for, like, younger kids out there, where they are, I guess, grown up in a sense watching the new trilogy, I think that they maybe could see Rey as the same thing as Luke. But me personally, I did not.
I mean, that's hard to say because I also grew up watching Luke. I didn't grow up with these new movies. Like there's some kids who are just getting into Star Wars now are growing up with. So I always thought that I related to Luke much better. I'm also a guy, so that kind of doesn't help. But I think Rey can be a relatable character. I think she can, but I don't think that she can be as relatable as Luke.
Like we said, also with, like, the growing up bit with Luke, we didn't really see that with Rey. She was, like, sort of the same way throughout the whole movie. She did change, but not the same way Luke did.
Not enough.
Not
Not
enough.
nearly
Yeah.
enough. And it's also like a lot of people have said, like, she's a Mary Sue, like she's good at just about everything she does. And I will say, for having never flown a ship before, she flew that amazingly well.
Yeah.
And she's also very gifted in the Force, but being Palpatine's granddaughter, as we now know, you can kind of see that why. But I mean, yeah, she is pretty gifted in just about everything she does.
That's one thing I didn't like about Rey. How she was just, amazing at everything. Like, in Force Awakens, she's fighting Kylo Ren, and, like, Kylo Ren's been training all his life.
Never having
As a-
picked up a
yeah,
lightsaber
uh-huh,
either, yeah.
And she somehow, defeats him.
Also, Kylo Ren has that mighty Skywalker blood, too, which would make him even more powerful.
Oh,
or
yeah.
should make him even more powerful.
The blood of the chosen one.
Yep.
So Ben is ultimately in the bloodline. He's like the purest Skywalker. He has that Skywalker blood, and
Yeah.
he's like a notch above. And that's why Snoke, or I guess Palpatine, gets Snoke to take Ben in to harness that energy.
Yeah.
But then here we have Rey, who's a Palpatine. So what do you think that's saying? Is that saying that the Palpatine bloodline is stronger than the Skywalker bloodline? Because if Rey can, like, destroy Kylo like that...
I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, what we saw, I mean, it certainly looks like it. But, I mean, there's not much to really go off of that. But from what we saw from Rey, I mean, I guess so. And also, I mean, this is going into Legends a little bit more, but, like, Palpatine always was like super powerful too in his early stages of training, so you can make that comparison as well.
I mean, also like we never saw the just raw power that Anakin had. Like we saw a little bit, but we never saw like his full potential because of the way his suit was designed in Star Wars and how it limited him so much, and so we never saw that complete potential that he could have lived up to, even using the dark side of the Force, which I would argue is possibly even more powerful than the light side, because you can see the change that he had in his, not only his fighting but also in his Force abilities after he turned, and Luke being also exceptionally powerful, and also Leia's son Ben being exceptionally powerful, but we also don't see Palpatine's full power. Like in books, it's described that Palpatine could electrocute somebody so powerfully that they would disintegrate into dust. Like think about how powerful you gotta be to be able to do that.
Yeah. That's why Star Wars is so great. There's so many what-if scenarios you can go with, and there's all those YouTube videos dedicated to
And was Leia trained by Luke as well? Because we see her training, training Rey, and it's like, can we not have like a side movie describing that or looking at that?
They did explain that. Yes, she was, because I feel like when Rey was given Leia's lightsaber by Luke, they had a little scene of Leia giving up her lightsaber to Luke.
That. It was like a little CG.
Yeah.
There. Now, I want to steer the discussion. We're trying to wrap this up because we're going to discuss our rankings of the movies. One thing I do want to point out, internet fans were speculating about this for years. Kylo Ren and Rey, they get together? What were our thoughts on that as kind of like the emotional conclusion?
So
did you buy that as a relationship?
So like I actually did research on that and I got some notes here for it, and there's actually an explanation in canon of like what they are, and so it's called a dyad. It's when two powerful Force users are so connected to each other that they each become a part of each other. So like that Force connection that they had with each other, where they could manipulate their surrounding objects and stuff with each other through their like connection through the Force. That is part of their dyad connection, and it's so strong that they know what it's like to be one another. Like, and you see and you hear Kylo say that when he's trying to get Rey to join him on the dark side on the ship before she kind of like jumps out of the hangar. In that scene, and it's hard. It's like and it's two separate individuals becoming one, and so we don't really know. Like we don't know how powerful and that just adds to their power. Like we don't know how powerful they would be if they were both if they actually became one.
I personally didn't see that coming at all. Rey and Kylo. I thought it was personally. I thought it was gonna be Finn and Rey, because that's what it looked like, especially in Force Awakens. But then, you know, Rian Johnson came in and added
Rose question mark.
Poor Rose. I saw it. Yeah.
Poor Rose in this movie.
Oh my god.
Just like 2 lines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's partially because so many people didn't like her.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't enjoy her character.
I didn't enjoy her personally. You just said you didn't. Well, you guys.
I didn't like the writing for her character. If she had like a different. Like some different writing, I think I might have enjoyed her character more.
She wasn't a fully rounded person.
No.
Her thing didn't make any sense either.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning with the medallion thing, she had to give to the code breaker in Last Jedi. I really didn't even know what that meant. Like,
in The Last Jedi, I didn't understand how she went from being maintenance to leading the rebels at the battle. Like.
She wasn't a very strongly written character, and J.J. Abrams was kind of like, nah, screw that.
Yeah.
She has one scene with Finn where Finn gives her like the most friend zone hug ever.
I saw that.
Felt pretty bad.
I was like, I know how you feel.
Yeah.
No, but also when they're like going to Exegol, like How is that? Is it like an Imperial remnant of the Final Order? Like, is that an Imperial remnant? Is that
That
something
was
like that?
so weird. Like
And like there's a little bit like there's a little canon explanation, which is like a Star Forge, which can produce hundreds of thousands of ships
yeah.
at a small time, but that doesn't.
How does nobody like
Yeah.
realize that's happening? Like you see Palpatine like come back, and then you just see like a million ships just rise out of the planet. I'm like, how does nobody
Yeah.
know? Like how does the Resistance not know
Yeah.
what's happening?
I mean, according to the movie, that it's impossible to find unless you have two wayfinders.
yeah. Wayfinders.
One of the two, yeah.
That whole thing, it was like
It looks so
half
much-
of the movie. It was like you gotta go talk to the guy to get the thing, which will show you where the thing is, so you
Yeah.
can finally find Palpatine.
And-
Why else you
and-
just find Palpatine?
And Wayfinders, I don't know if anybody here has seen like the Rebels show or the Clone Wars, but it looks a lot like a Sith holocron, except for the red glow that the Sith holocron has. Like the Wayfinder has the green one, but it looks like a Sith holocron. It's triangular, and all the Sith holocrons we've seen have been triangular.
Yeah.
The Jedi ones we've seen are square. So I mean that was pretty interesting.
I think you all bring up some interesting points here. Now I'd like to move to
Oh,
our
one more.
ranking of the movies. Do you have one more point?
Yeah. Where's Baby Yoda?
Oh.
Where is Baby Yoda? I want to know where
Justice
Baby
for
Yoda
Baby
is in
Yoda.
this entire
I'm more
thing.
of a Babu Frick kind of guy. Babu Frick was the star of the show
Frick.
for me.
Oh,
But yeah, let's move on into our rankings. Connor, you can start.
All right, so we're going least to greatest. So I'll start it off like you guys want me to. Attack the Clones. It's my least favorite Star Wars movie. Geonosis was cool, but honestly, Anakin in this movie was just so cringy. Some of the stuff he would say, I just did not like.
So whiny too.
He was whiny. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool how you really see him embrace the dark side when he kills all the sand people. But like, other than that, I don't really like the way Tatooine is used in the prequels. So, Attack of the Clones just wasn't my thing.
My worst would have to be Phantom Menace. I mean, the only two scenes I thought were pretty cool were the pod racing scene and the Duel of Fates scene. That was the only scenes in the entire movie.
My least favorite would probably be Rise of Skywalker. I really did not like how they just seemed to make it was really confusing. It was hard to follow. There were too many questions left unanswered at the end of that.
There was lots of action. I
There
will
were a lot
give
of
it that.
questions,
Yeah.
But like, man, you must really not like it.
Yeah.
Why
Joey's
was
out here bringing the hot takes?
why was Lando not in Cloud City? What was he doing on that
You
planet?
never know.
Maybe he lost it in a gambling game.
Yeah, maybe he got stranded there or something.
My least favorite, Attack of the Clones. Writing, terrible. Acting, terrible. I do like clones. I love clones. Clone
Yeah.
Wars is like
Clones,
my favorite
yeah.
show of all time.
I'll
Yeah.
give Camino some credit too. It was a cool planet.
Yeah.
The clones are cool. And Jango
Jango
Fett.
Fett.
Yeah.
One of the things though, did you guys notice that they said that like festival thing happens once every, I think it's 42 years.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like to the first movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
42 years
77.
since. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
So, my next two ones here are Last Jedi and Force Awakens. I really wasn't a big sequels guy. I didn't really like. I mean, Force Awakens, I'll give credit, was pretty good. It was just kind of, to me personally, a copy of A New Hope, which copying. And then I did not like Last Jedi. The only reason why I have it ahead of Attack of the Clones is the scene Luke has with Yoda. I think that was really cool. Having Yoda come back as a Force Ghost, and I also like the scene when Luke's talking to R2, which that was like a tearjerker.
Yeah.
But
I would have to say my next two are 8 would be Phantom Menace, and then the next one would be what is it? Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
And there was not a single point of Last Jedi that I enjoyed. Not one single scene. Not one. Which is for me is very hard to get in a Star Wars movie. I enjoyed Phantom Menace. Yeah.
For me, number 8 is Phantom Menace, and then number 7 is Attack of the Clones. For me, Phantom Menace, I like the Darth Maul scene where they're dueling with Darth Maul, and the pod racing scene. But besides that, there really isn't much else. I felt like the Chosen One scene, Chosen One thing, I did not really like. No, and then I didn't like. And then Attack of the Clones, I didn't like how much love. I don't really like love scenes that much. So I did not really like how much of the movie was spent with that.
I forgot. I accidentally said Phantom Menace. I meant Attack of the Clones. It was my third least favorite. So.
We'll add that referendum
in
post. My 8 would be The Phantom Menace. Jar Jar Binks, what an icon.
Oh my
That's
God.
all I'm going to say about that. Number 7,
Sith Lord.
Have to go with The Rise of Skywalker. I just didn't think it tied that trilogy together that well. Connor, what are your next 3?
My next 3. So, coming down the list, number 6, I got Phantom Menace. Darth Maul, awesome. We can all agree that. And started off good. I kind of liked Naboo at the beginning, but then Jar Jar Binks came, ruined it all. And I really did not like Tatooine either.
Jar Jar Binks, Sith Lord? Question mark.
That's another episode. That's another episode for another day, guys. Number 5, Rise of Skywalker. It was, in my opinion, best out of the 3 sequels. I feel that it was rushed a little bit, and I would have liked to see Anakin come back as a Force Ghost and actually talk to Ben. I thought that would be a cool scene instead of having Han come back. Number 4, I got A New Hope. The main difference why I have these next 3, which are coming up, higher than A New Hope is because they're just more action, and that's about it. Yeah. I can't really diss A New Hope. It was a great movie.
My next 3 from least favorite to favorite would be Revenge of the Sith, Revenge of the Jedi, not Revenge of the Sith, and then it would be Force Awakens, and then it would be A New Hope.
My 6 would be Last Jedi, then Force Awakens, then Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Mine would have to be Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Revenge of the Sith. I think same as Joey. I liked Revenge of the Sith. A lot of people hate on it, but I think it was the best of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
You finally see Anakin's turn to the dark side, which is what we wanted to see the whole time.
Yeah.
Also, you have those 2 duels at the end.
Oh,
some of the best fights.
Palpatine and Yoda. That was so good.
That's, in my opinion, that's what the Rise of Skywalker lacked. It lacked that climactic duel at the end with lightsabers. Cause
I feel like it was all climactic. There really wasn't a break in the action. There were a couple scenes here and there, just kind of take a couple seconds from the action, but for the most part, it was continuous action.
The film itself was the climax.
Yeah.
Connor.
Yeah.
Final 3.
Final 3. So coming in number 3, Revenge of the Sith. I love the lightsaber fights between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it came out in 2006, right? So I was born in 2004. So that was when I got old enough to watch Star Wars. After I watched the originals, that was the first one I watched. I kind of went out of order a bit, so that's why I have that one so high. Number 2, I have Return of the Jedi. Ending scene was great when everyone comes back as Force Ghosts. That was great, and I love the duel between Luke, Vader, and Palpatine in that one. Number 1 coming in for me was Empire Strikes Back. I love Cloud City. I'm a big Yoda fan, so when Yoda got introduced, I liked that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I would have to go Rise of Skywalker at number 7. Number 7, I really enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. And then number 8, I would go Return of the Jedi. And then number 9, the favorite would be Empire. Empire Strikes Back, because that is possibly the best Star Wars movie.
Did you just say 7? 7
well,
is...
Yeah.
Okay. So my 3rd would be New Hope. My 2nd is Empire Strikes Back, and my 1st is Return of the Jedi. I just like the end of the story. I just like the conclusion.
And who doesn't like Ewoks? They're so cute.
They are, but they're not as cute as Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda? Porgs? What happened to Porgs?
Porgs, no.
Porgs were all the rage after the last Jedi.
I know, but Baby Yoda is still cuter than everything.
Oh, did you guys hear they're making a Build-A-Bear Baby Yoda?
I will buy that, even if it costs $1 million. I will take out a loan to get
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Dan should start a GoFundMe Kickstarter. My rankings, I'd have to go from 3 to 1. Have to go Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and Empire Strikes Back. I'm with you too. That movie is just a masterpiece. You forget it's a Star Wars movie. That's just a great movie. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
And I like when movies end like where the bad guys win.
Oh yeah.
Because like after the movie, you're just like, oh shoot, how are they gonna dig themselves out of that hole?
Yeah,
and that's just a
yeah.
great feeling to have for a movie.
And it also kind of leaves you like, there's no more hope for the rebellion. Like nothing's gonna be. They're not gonna be able to do this anymore. Like they can't fight anymore. Like how do they continue to fight? And it's like, I feel like you didn't get that kind of realization in this new trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, in Last Jedi, they were down to like enough. They were down. They had like only 20 people left at the end. So.
But they never came out and were like, this is difficult. Like there's not like that for me at least, there's not that scene that really shows they have no more hope anymore.
That builds the stakes, and you feel like you're actually in danger.
Yeah, like their hope is just now destroyed. Like they're always like, hope. Like there's no time where like we don't have hope anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, three of you, thank you so much for coming on the show talking Star Wars. I love Star Wars so much. It's been ingrained into I think all our childhoods. So it's great to talk about the conclusion to a wonderful saga. Well, make sure to follow us on our social medias: Twitter, Instagram @What'sPoppinTHN. I'm your host Josh O, and I'll catch you all later.